All right, so what was your drug or drugs of choice if you had multiple, and at what age did you start using any substance?
So I started using really, really young. Like the first time that I smoked marijuana, I was about 10 years old, and I had already dabbled in tobacco and alcohol since as long as I can remember. I grew up in an oil-filled town, and so it was readily available. There was half beers everywhere, stuff like that. And so, I started messing around age 10, about 4th grade. But I really started getting heavy into heavier drugs like marijuana and drinking regularly by age 13, and by age 16, I was a daily user.
Okay. Wow,
so
you did start
I ended up actually at the end of my last run 9 years ago, I was strung out on heroin and using everything in between. So.
Absolutely.
In the research that we check out, the average using age is between 12 and 13 years old, and that's always been like a common ground. But like it's crazy how to look back at it now to even see anyone use a substance, especially parents like us. I couldn't imagine it.
And like we want that knowledge to be out there. We link a lot of our research down in our description and stuff because it's important for people that I don't know, it's just like the way that the system works, because we could do some preventable thing against that age. Like the DARE program, that was like super young for me.
That made me want to get
super young.
Yeah, I was always really attracted to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
I sought it out. I wanted to get loaded.
Yeah. Same here. All right, so how long have you used for?
I used from age 10 until I was 33 when I finally, and I tried different stints of recovery in between that, obviously, but I was 33 when I finally got sober. So
Awesome.
Whatever that number is, 27. 30 years.
Long time.
Yeah.
Who did your addiction affect?
Nobody. So anybody that was in my path was in danger of my disease. You hear about this all the time. If you were anywhere near me, you were in danger. I was always intoxicated, and I was always breaking the law. No matter what I was doing, I was either carrying drugs, going to a drug deal, coming from a drug deal, driving intoxicated, coming from a crime, getting ready to commit a crime, and nobody was safe for me. Like I would steal, lie, and cheat from anybody, from my nephews and nieces at a very young age, my parents, to strangers that I've never met, establishments. Really, at the end, the only thing that I spent my money on was drugs, alcohol, gas, and tobacco. And that's because those are the only things that I couldn't steal.
Very true. And it's essential, you needed that for the lifestyle, all that.
Yeah, and it's true. It is a path of destruction. It does affect everyone around us, even when we don't think it does.
And unfortunately, and I talk about this quite a bit, that fortunately but unfortunately, we're loved, and it affected the people that loved me the most because they constantly worried about that phone call.
Yeah.
And then just me being around, being able to worry about what kind of behavior, what Willie was going to show up, what's going to come up missing while he's here. It was a pain in the ass for everybody involved because of the selfish nature of the disease that I have.
That's why we're starting the family series. It's important for family members to be educated on addiction, to learn ways to be able to cope with an addict, because they become just as addicted to the addict as we do to the drug. And they got to care about themselves. They got to put themselves first, just like when we get clean and sober, it's the same way. So, good answer. Now, what led you to get clean initially?
Pain. Like the pain, deep down inside of me for a very, very long time, I knew that the lifestyle I was leading was not okay. I just didn't have enough self-belief that I could quit it. And there was a lot of things that led up to the identity that I had of self-destruction. But the pain, I started living in an empathetic way. Like I could recognize the pain that I was causing other people. And I knew that wasn't okay, but I would continually numb that out. by using and drinking. Because as soon as I started feeling what I was doing to other people, the pain would increase. And then I would numb it out with more drugs and alcohol, because deep down, I knew that there was a better way of life. I knew that I was created for something more, and I had more of a purpose, that I didn't need to waste my life. But my self-esteem and my self-worth was such that I had no belief in myself that I could do anything different. And the hope was that the drugs would continue to work at some point like they did when I was young. And so I just continued in that path. But the pain eventually became so great that the only choice that I had was to either go out in alcoholic death, which scared the shit right out of me. Like being found behind a dumpster or in my parents' basement, or behind the seat of a car, or like what ended up getting me sober, death by an officer or something like that, really frightened me. And the idea that I have one life, I don't know if I have more than this, but I know that I have this. And the idea that I'm going to waste the only one that I have by chasing something that doesn't exist really frightened me. And I became willing to do whatever was necessary to change that perspective. And fortunately for me, the last time I got arrested and attempted sobriety, I was willing enough to do what was suggested, and it stuck this time.
Awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the answer, but that's reality. It can and will kill you if it has the chance.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like it does take like a couple, like nobody, I mean, I'm sure there are some people that do get that one shot and take it, but sometimes for people to understand something, they have to hear it again and again and again for it to finally click and make sense, so.
Yeah, and also learn how to live a new way of life, actually, and incorporate that into your life, because that's hard. It's hard.
It was super scary.
Yeah.
That I had to relearn how to live.
Absolutely. Now, how are you staying clean today?
Massive work, continued work on self.
Great answer.
The longer that I'm here, the more I know how broken I was and how much work needs to be done. And so I spend a great deal of time on my mission, which is to get to know myself well. I started on a mission, and I found what that mission was early on in sobriety this time, because when I started working the steps and when I started working with another sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous and doing recovery as it was suggested, the insane part of my disease was that I never gained a relationship with myself. I always had a relationship with the idea of who I thought I needed to be for you or for them, or who I was labeled as. And I never did get a relationship with myself. I never did get my own identity. There was pieces of things that I agreed with, and most of the stuff I didn't. So everything that I was given to me by somebody else. And I just accepted it as who I thought I was supposed to be. And so I continue on this path through a massive amount of introspection, trial and error, and experimentation. I still experiment with my life today. Certain activities, how do certain things make me feel? How do certain behaviors make me feel? One of the things that I started doing in early sobriety, once I was able to get a handle on the fact that I cannot use or drink today, no matter what comes my way, I can stay sober today. So if that's the case, then what can I do and stay sober, right? So can I steal and stay sober and still have a prosperous life? It didn't feel very good. I've tried it, because I would take shit from work, because I still have those behaviors. So early on, I take pencils from work, or have the opportunity to not pay for something in the store and just keep that opportunity. And I found that didn't work well for me. And so I put that over here on the cannot do board. Can I continue in promiscuous sexual activity and lying to people? I can try that in sobriety. I can try anger in sobriety. I can try all these different negative things in sobriety and see if they work for me or don't work for me. And then I can try these positive things like eating healthy and exercise and journaling and helping others. And do those things work for me? So through experimentation, I can kind of get a gauge on this thing works, this thing doesn't. And I'm finding that any type of negative behavior, which I know at the core of myself, inside of my conscience, anything that is negative innately across the board that we learned in kindergarten does not work for me in sobriety. It didn't work for me out there. That's why I had to continue to get drunk and loaded all the time, because I tried all this stuff. But now, you know, I have a very rigorous daily routine that is pretty intense. I self-inflict adversity on purpose so that I do hard things on purpose, so that if stuff comes my way that may be difficult to handle, I've already done the hardest thing of my day. So, you know, but yeah, I just continue to try different stuff in a positive manner to see what works for me. I want to know myself really well. Like, I can't imagine having a better relationship with somebody other than me. And that's the insanity of the disease, is we don't gain a relationship with ourselves, honestly. What we believe and why, what our sexual natures are and why, what foods do to our bodies and why, how we react with responsibilities and why. Like, all those things create who we are to a point where we get emotional about it, and then we live our lives either based on love or fear, still upon the actions that we have in our lives, the behaviors that create the actions in our lives. And so I just do this stuff on a daily basis and continue to remember that the most important thing that I can do today is stay sober.
Love it.
Absolutely. I think that was an incredible part of my recovery, is when I finally learned, like, the first part of me. You know, like, I finally saw myself for who I actually am, and I was like, wait a second. And the continuous growth is just, it's even more like, there was a point in my life when I was at work and I would be like, I can't wait to go home. And people are like, why? I'm like, because I get to hang out with myself. And they're like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm awesome. But like, you do, like, that's what's amazing about this program, is you get to find out who you are, and you get to change what you think is necessary. And that's the best part, you know?
All right. So what's your biggest accomplishment in your recovery so far?
Definitely, by far, the fact that my children have never seen me drink.
Awesome.
Amazing.
They've never seen me smoke. We've never compromised their health for our desire to deteriorate our own. So they've never had fast food. We've never eaten chicken nugget. They've always eaten whole foods. You know, so as a parent and taking responsibility for the life of another human being, not only that, I love them to death. Being the example for that, I know that I'm not going to be able to control everything in their lives, their whole lives, right? They're going to come up against obstacles and temptations and things. And all three of them, they come up against the opportunity to try alcohol or tobacco or fast food. And I can't control that once they're outside of my home. But I can damn sure control whether they drink out of my bottle or not. I can make sure that they never smoke out of my path. I can make sure that I'm not the one that ever takes them through the drive-thru at McDonald's. You know, and so putting a value on another human life based on all the things that cause me pain, right? The food, the nicotine, the drugs and alcohol, the unhealthy relationships. If I can like not continue that pain onto the other people that I'm responsible for, like, that's such a major accomplishment. And then continuing on self-development so that I don't go back to the negative self that I know lives inside of me as well, right? So I think that would probably be by far the biggest accomplishment, is what my children have not seen.
And that's the best thing that you have to offer them. I love
the
it.
best way possible, you know,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's amazing.
I am the father that I would want them to have, right? So if I step back and I imagine, like, what would the best father for my children be? I am healthy, financially responsible, hardworking, honest, transparent. You know,
That's amazing.
all those things that I would want if I wasn't here. What kind of man would I want to raise my kids? I get to be that guy because I'm sober and I do this hard stuff.
Powerful.
That's incredible. It's
Yes.
very inspirational.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. You should definitely be proud of
I
that.
have an amazing partner, Olivia, my wife. We got sober at the same time.
Oh,
Well, kind of. We got arrested at the same time the last time. And then she never used from our arrest date. I had a few slips after that. So she actually has 9.5 years, and I just got 9. So.
wow. Well, congratulations, guys.
Don't minimize that, man. That's a blessing. That is an inspiration to hear.
And how
You
you guys like change your life and you give your children the best options that they can have. And then not only that, but you're even allowing them at some point in their life to experience life. You know, like you're like, I can't control what happens once they leave, but I can show them what, you know, like what I can give them.
Mhm.
And that's the way it is.
Educate them as best I can too. Like these are the facts that as we know them.
Mhm.
Right? This is exactly what will happen. These are the stories of the people that are just like us. There's a good chance it might be part of your bloodline. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know for sure whether it's hereditary. A lot of people say it's not. A lot of people say it is.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. But here's the information. We try to raise you with as much confidence in yourself as you can, so that you can pay attention to what goes on inside your body emotionally, and you can make a decision based on the highest version of yourself. That's the whole recipe.
That's just so amazing.
And let me tell you, as a new dad myself, those are things that I love to hear because it's things that I get to try to implement better in my life too, you know?
Yeah.
Or help. That's why I like speaking with other recovering addicts and alcoholics, you know, because they share, not just in recovery though, like not like everything within the rooms and things like that, just life in general, you know, because I had to learn how to live life, period. You know, I knew how to do one thing, and that was chase my fix. I lost all my life skills long ago, so it's awesome, man. All right, so now, would you change anything knowing what you know today?
Nothing.
Awesome.
I don't think I would. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, now I just and I keep a hold of that. I keep a hold of, like, now that I have it, I'm responsible for it. And so, like, a relapse today is not an option because I'm afraid that I will never come back.
Mhm.
And I look back that, you know, if my ultimate goal is to die fulfilled, right, knowing myself and having no regrets, then I got sober when I got sober, and I never have to go back to using the drink again, right? So I think that we can get to a point in our recovery where we don't relapse on accident anymore, right? It becomes really hard, and I've talked to a lot of people who have made the decision to go back out and use after some time in sobriety, and it wasn't a trick onto themselves. It was a decision that they made, you know, where early on in my recovery, like it was a disaster. I couldn't stay sober because I had made this solidified decision that I'm not going to use the drink no matter what, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that happens, which means meetings, transparency, honesty, you know, willingness, all the things that I am to do. And so I wouldn't change anything because I am who I am because of all the stuff I went through. And if anything was different, everything would be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up here, and this ain't so bad. And it's not so bad.
Not too shabby, not too
It's a lot
shabby.
better than where I was, man. Shit.
Yeah,
I'm sick of playing spades in the jail cell, man.
yeah.
So it's.
But like, I just like, even thinking about like where we've all been and what we've all gone through, like, do you think you'd be here today? You know, like, just, it's crazy to think that, like, I'm a mother. Oh no, it died.
Battery died?
Yeah.
Sorry, our battery died on our camera.
Which is fine because then it will just be you. But yeah, it's amazing to be like just a mother and have a family and to be able to build more with my family and to be able to do the things that you never one cared about, nor even thought, if you did think about it, that you would actually ever be there, you know? It's incredible.
It is. It is. All right, now we added a question to the interview.
I think I
Did you update that?
Wait, oh, I'm not sure.
You could ask me questions from him.
Awesome.
I live my program, so it's easy for me to tell my story.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was one of the hardest things you had to go through in your active addiction?
In my active addiction or in sobriety?
In your active addiction?
Getting sober.
Yeah.
That's by far right thing.
Well, that was pretty.
It's true though.
Yeah.
I came from a very violent background. A lot of dirty street drug activity, gangs, guns, drug deals. I seen some of the most horrific stuff, and by far, like losing myself before I even had myself, and then having to figure out how to become myself. With all of that stuff, I like to think that and say I've been told I'm an old soul, and so I'm kind of a fortunate person where I'm really determined to maximize this life that I have and look back upon where I was at with a lot of gratitude that I got to come through all that stuff, and I made it to here. And that here is ultimately where I always wanted to be, which is a place of self-love. And so, like, I look back at my life in active addiction, and it wasn't shit compared to my life in recovery, because I had nothing to blame anything on. I had nothing to numb the pain on. I just faced myself square in the eyes and recognized that I had a lot of internal self-hate. And that's a hard place to create love with, right? And so, from a little seed of hope, grew this blossoming life of self-love and respect through a lot of action. And everything that I am today is through action, right? And nothing is stagnant in my ability to get where I'm at today, which is, such an amazing life. It really is, and I'm so grateful for it. So,
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
So I definitely, why did I lose it? Hold on a second.
We'll add this to the blooper reel.
You literally just said it. Oh, what was the hardest thing in your sobriety, if you don't mind me asking?
So the hardest thing in my sobriety is fairly simple. It's understanding that I've been more addicted to food than I was anything else my entire life. And more pain came through my the view that I had of my self-image than anything else. And so when my first son was born, I put down the pipe, I put down the bottle, and I picked up the fork. And so I got up to about 300. The last I saw was 323 pounds on the scale. My wife had the opportunity to leave town, and we decided that we're going to take Isaac off the boob. And so we're going to wean him off the boob at that time, because he was our first one, and we didn't know shit about being a parent. But like, that's what you're supposed to do at this time. Figuring all this shit out. And so I had done my step work, and she was gone. I was alone. Isaac was asleep, and I decided, I was thinking about all this stuff. I think I'm going to go ahead and burn my first step. Like, I'm going to do the ceremonial 4-step burn and just get rid of it. And so I went outside and I started a fire at the barbecue, and I kind of read my 4-step again, because I'd already done my 5th step. I was doing, 6th, 7th, 8th step. I'm not sure which one I was on. I think I was on about my 8th step at that time. And I just wanted some more action. And so I went out there without really any intention of anything going on, but I think humans are ceremonious, right? Like we're tribal in nature. Like we see this throughout mankind. And so I was going to ceremoniously burn my 4th step, because I heard it was very nurturing and very, very fulfilling to just get rid of it and be done with it. And so I went out and I lit it on fire. And as it was burning, I was watching the smoke, and the smoke's coming up, and it, like, no matter where I went, the smoke was like hitting me from my 4-step party, and I'm like, still trying to attach to me, right? Like, and so then the wind kicked up and it blew some of the acid on me. Like I rubbed them off, and so I was rubbing the acid in my 4-step into my clothes. And I was like, okay, like I see the parallel, like the thing going on here with like everything in my 4-step trying to attach to me. I see the symbolism in it of it just trying to stick to me, just like the disease is, you know. And so I was like, whatever, I don't care. Like, I'm letting you go. And so I went inside and I took my clothes off and I put them in the washer and I then took a shower. I'm like, I'm gonna wash this off. And I went out, and we have this really big mirror. So I got done taking a shower, and we had this really big mirror. And we still have the mirror, but it's like full size, it's a giant mirror. And I went out, and I was standing in front of it, and I was looking at myself. And I was like, okay, like I just did this major thing with my 4-step, and I need to just be naked here, and like be comfortable with myself. And so I took my towel off and I stood in front of this mirror naked, just completely naked in front of the mirror. And I was like, hey, I got to tell myself that I love you. And I looked myself in the eye and I said, Willie, I fucking hate you. And I just started crying, like I started bawling because I'd done all the stuff, right? Like I did the step work, I did, you know, the sponsorship, I was going to meetings, I was sober. But inside, I knew that I was still had the addict behavior of food. I was escaping. The way that I was using food was the same way that I was using drugs. Like I couldn't have this relationship with myself, and I was still masking it with outside things, right? And so, like I just started crying, like I just was bawling about it, and I knew that more action needed to be taken. You know, and that was 7 years ago. That was 6 years ago. Wow. Because Isaac was 1 and he's 7 now. And so I went again on another journey of self-discovery. Like, what am I capable of? And I started going to the gym and incorporating fitness into my program. You know, I was like 2.5 or 3 years sober at that time. And so, like, I know at a very deep level that self-love creates outer love. If I can love me, I'm more capable of loving you. But if I sell myself short on the actions that I need to take in order for me to love myself, which for me is staying sober, no nicotine, you know, media intake, what am I putting into my mind, and then the food that I put into my body and the way that I treat myself. Now, if I fall short on what my conscience is telling me I need to do, I fall short on you guys. And everybody around me is affected by it. Because I know that I'm not living up to the highest level that I can possibly be living up to. And so I ventured out into this new way of life, of health and wellness and mental wellness and all those things. And fortunately, over the course of it, I found some things that didn't work, and I found some things that do work. And there's been a lot of different diets, and a lot of different, you know, exercise programs, a lot of different challenges. And I've done some half marathons, I've done a marathon, I've done some Spartan races.
Awesome.
And, you know, finally I got a coach, and with getting a coach that knows how to properly introduce food, so that now when I eat food, I eat food with intention, right? Like I'm doing this as part of my overall wellness, not just to eat, but as part of my discipline, right? Like, okay, this is all the food I need. It's so fucking, it's so difficult. I'm such a food addict, you know, like I'm such an addict, but that's okay. You know, today's been a good day. And I'm a member of the 100-pound club. I've lost over 100 pounds since the heaviest on my scale. Continue to be sober. I'm stronger than I've ever been. Like, I had this amazing life in this program of fitness, which fits really well because I am the example. I'm the example for my family, and I'm the proof that this stuff works, right? So my children look to me as what type of person to be. And so I have a major responsibility with what does health look like, as best as I understand it. Is it going out for fast food and eating pizza and dining out all the time? Or is it teaching them how to cook vegetables and what they are and how they work and why we need proteins? And, like, I want to know that stuff too, right? So I know that's kind of off topic with sobriety per se, but it's a huge part of my recovery process. It's the biggest thing because, like I said, I was addicted to food first. As a 5-year-old kid, I was eating entire boxes of sugary cereal. I was drinking nothing but soda. I was stealing candy from the store. And I would obsess over food. And the only thing that cured me of that was the dope, was the drugs and the alcohol. And when I found drugs and alcohol, the addiction to the food didn't matter nearly as much. Because then I was high and I could eat whatever the fuck I wanted. I didn't have any guilt about it, but being a fat kid caused a lot of shame and guilt and all the stuff that goes along with being a fat kid. The teasing and the shame and the hiding, the social awkwardness and all the things, not wanting to take my shirt off at the pool. Just all that stuff created this internal strife that just fueled my drug addiction, right? That almost freaking killed me. And so, that was by heart the hardest thing that I had to face in sobriety was how sick I really was.
And
how sick I am.
Yeah, getting down to the root cause of where it lies within you. My sponsor is a big part of the OAE, the Overeaters Anonymous, and she's like 78, right? So we're generations between, but she ended up falling. So I was going over there and I was helping her and stuff, and people were bringing her food. And she's like, Olivia, get this out of my house. And I was like, Mary, calm down. And she goes, no, I'm going to have 1 egg and 1 toast and that's it. And I'm like, are you okay, you're right. Let's get this out. And I was like, you need to let these people know that you are fine with food, that you appreciate their gestures, but just let them know that you're being taken care of. Like, she was like,
even if they don't understand, that's important too.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I like when Cam shared the other day too, I just relate 100% because food has always been my second addiction when I'm clean and sober. And that's the differential. Like, that's how people knew I was either clean or I was getting high, as I was fat or I was skinny. So, and it was just constant. You got to think of how unhealthy that was for me, man. Like, I would lose 100 pounds, gain 100 pounds, lose 100 pounds, gain 100 pounds. The damage I've done to my body, both clean and while using. So dude, I love it. I need to hear it. Because it's always been an insecurity in my life. It still is. I still struggle with it, not being able to leave the house all day because we decided to quarantine to a certain extent besides like necessary
stuff.
Yes. And it's hard, man. It's hard. You want those feel-good things, Boredom sucks. It's always been my biggest thing. Like, what do I do when I'm bored? I eat. I don't go for a walk. I walk to the fridge. It's about it, But I'm working on it, and we're both working on it, and I love. That's why these videos are important to me too, because I hear things I need to hear. These videos help me stay clean and sober. So.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Great answer.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because it's like sobriety is one thing, but recovery is like the whole thing. And just having, like, knowing your true self, getting down to the nitty gritty and really digging in deep and getting that. But that's recovery to its like truest, fullest, honest capacity, so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Now, if you could say something to someone who is still actively using, what would you say to that person?
Figures. I hope that everybody gets just drug across the bottom as hard as possible. Like there's no soft road. Like go finish. If you're not done, go finish. My hope is that everybody gets such a severe understanding of their alcoholism that they're chewing on the barrel of a gun, that their liver is, all the things that happened to me is what it took for me. And the faster that happens, the longer life we may have. I know that it might sound harsh to some people.
It's got to be bad enough.
I hope that you get such a severe understanding of your alcoholism that you're willing to do whatever is suggested to stay sober for one day. The last time I was in jail, the one thing a major thing that I understood was that I can stay a day sober, whether I'm behind bars or not, because the craving was the same. Right? The craving that I had while locked up was just as intense as any craving that I had on the street. Having to kick heroin while locked up was just as bad as having to kick heroin on the street. But the thing is it didn't fucking kill me, and I got an understanding that it's not going to kill me. And I went through it, and I know that I can get through any craving because I did it. Right? It was hard. It sucked. But it was worth it. So finish. Go finish. Don't save anybody. Don't try to make anybody feel better. Go get it done.
Get her done.
I love it. Now, if you could say something to a family member of someone that struggles with active addiction, what would you say to that family member?
Find a like-minded group of people that understand what you're going through and let your loved one finish. Know that it's not your fault, that you did not break that person, right? And that it's nothing against you. It is not your fault, and it's not to hurt you. It's not any of that stuff. But there's nothing you can do about it until they are done, until they're rug across the bottom far enough. And just know that they are in pain. It's not easy for your addict to be being an addict. They know that you love them. It's just they cannot stop. It's an addictive thing. So find people that understand that they can explain to you what you're going through and have support and listen to what you were going through so that you have a better understanding of this stuff.
Great message,
Absolutely.
man. Great message. All right, we are going to open the floor to you to just share whatever you think anybody that needs to hear, whether they're struggling or, barely getting by, or they just need to hear it,
Okay.
The floor is yours.
So my message is, whenever I share, like when I get to go up to a treatment center, or when I was able to go into the jail and I could share, I would always start by saying, my name's Willy and I'm an alcoholic. And I say I'm alcoholic because I use and I drink when I have no reason not to. And once I start, I can't stop. And that means historically, no matter what I was going through, whether it was a court order, a relationship, a job trying to be stable, nowhere to live or stay, facing, jail time or in jail or whatever. No matter what I was facing, historically, I would use it. There came a point when I was finally willing to change that. And what happened was, I was down in Ogden, Utah. I came down to Ogden, Utah to pick up drugs. And I gave my buddy some money. He went to go pick up drugs, and the whole thing went really bad. He ended up stabbing a guy, and he ended up going to prison for stabbing that person. Me and Avery were here. We were driving around town looking for him, and we decided we were going to go to the grocery store and steal some groceries. Well, that went bad, and the theft prevention officer tried to stop us, and I made contact with him. Whether I hit him or pushed him, I don't really remember. It was all fuzzy, but when you touch it, that prevention officer goes from shoplifting to strong arm robbery.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So we're doing a simple, easy little, misdemeanor crime that turned into a Class 8 felony. We got away from there and never did find my friend. We didn't have any methamphetamines, but I had heroin. So I felt okay, but we needed to go back to Wyoming. On our way back to Wyoming, I couldn't stay awake, so we pulled over to stop. I fell asleep at the rest area, and when I got woke up by a Utah Highway patrolman with a gun in my face, screaming at me, put my hands up. Now, that wasn't uncommon for me. That wasn't the first time that I had a gun in my face, but it was the last time I had a gun in my face, because when he woke me up and we were surrounded by Utah Highway Patrol, Morgan County, Weaver County, and the Ogden City Police Department, there were 4 law enforcement agents in there because we were wanted for strong arm robbery. And I looked that cop in the eye and I could see that he was more than willing to do his duty and fucking shoot me if he needed to. If I would have messed around at all, he would have shot me, because that officer saw me for exactly what I was at that time. A danger, high, a liability to everyone that he loves and everything that he stands for. And if he would have shot me, he would have put me all over my girlfriend because she was on this side of me. So she would have been covered in my blood, and that cop would have had to deal with the fact that he had to shoot somebody on me. Now, it took me a while to process this, that I came that close to getting shot by a cop. And I call that my moment of incomprehensible realization. And what that is when you can no longer hide from the world what you really are. And what I really was dangerous. I was a criminal, I was selfish, and I was sick, right? And so when you can no longer hide that, the world can see you for what you are, and you know that the world can see you for what you are. That's probably the point where you need to start asking yourself, are you going to go on to the memory or something inside of this going to change? And that's what it takes, is a deep willingness to believe that at the core of yourself that you have one shot at this life, if you've had enough. And if you've had enough, there's so many people out there in this community, in this, in your own area. There's phone numbers. You can look us up on our podcast, on Instagram, The Other Side of Hell 101. You can email us. Olivia, I forget your husband's name.
Scott.
Matt?
Scott.
Oh, Scott. Olivia and Scott. All these things. There's an entire community on social media of people that are willing to help, and they can point you in the right direction. There's no treatment centers, counseling, therapy, all these things that can help you deal with your trauma to the point where you can start living a more prosperous and better life, and then create a life that you never even knew was possible. Into something that you're never going to be willing to give up to go back to that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give up this life for that life. Fuck that. Not today. Not today. Because I knew what I had, right?
Yeah.
I had a gun in my face. And that was the wake-up call that I finally made. And there's so many details to that story that I don't have enough time to get into. But I could have been shot by a cop, and everybody's life would have been changed. And the news story would have been, criminal from Wyoming gets shot by officer. Not Willie, not Susie's son, not Avery's husband, not brother, none of that stuff. Criminal from Wyoming gets shot by cop. And that would have been the thing that was I'm not okay with that. We don't die pretty deaths out there. We leave our bodies for our families to find, for maids to find in hotels. We leave nothing but messes of pills. And we have an opportunity to clean that up and help somebody else clean their shit up too. And that, I think, is something noble and worth fighting. I don't think there's anything more honorable than a person fighting for their own life. And that's what we do in recovery, as we fight for our own lives.
Awesome. That's
Very
incredible.
powerful.
And that is the truth behind that of how, like, even as you were speaking and you were talking about being shot by a police officer, you know, I wasn't thinking how it would have been labeled. You know, the armed robber or the criminal got shot, you know, and how you put it in the perspective of how it was going to affect everybody else's life from a split second that you could have changed your decision and made a mistake, you know, or pursued it differently. So that is eye-opening. That's incredible. That's inspirational. And like you said, like, that's scary. Like, that reality, that's scary. Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
Very powerful message, man.
Yeah, so is there anything else that you wanted to share tonight, Willie?
Just remember, we are the example, right? Like we're the proof and we're the example. So whatever we're going through, like, let's be the best example possible. And listen to your conscience, to your higher self, whatever that is that's calling you for the next move in action. You know, if there's something that's calling you to do something, do it, because there's a level of or benefit on the other side of that action.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for jumping on and making the time. We love what the two of you guys are doing.
Last thing. Can you please state your first name, your clean date or sober date, and one thing you're grateful for?
Okay. My name is Willie. I've been sober since December 17, 2011.
Woo-woo.
And I'm extremely grateful for the change of heart that I've had towards myself, so that I can become the highest version of myself, my value, and the person that I am. And I'm able to get that